Let's talk a bit more about the latest developments today. We can get analysis of the situation on the ground with retired Air Vice Marshal Sean Bell, who is also advisor at Universal Defence and Security Solutions. Sean, good to see you again. Let's talk about this change of tact by President Putin when it comes to Mariupol. This morning, we were thinking Mariupol could fall by this afternoon, and now Vladimir Putin has decided not to send his troops into the steelworks, but to create a ring of steel around it, effectively.
I think it's most interesting. You don't often see Putin getting directly involved in tactical details on the battlefield. So I think we've got to look beyond what is actually going on here. I think it's pretty evident that this is a very difficult nut to crack for Russia at the moment. When Putin announced it, he talked about the impact on his Russian forces, that they were getting a bloody nose doing it. And it's a distraction from his main effort. And the other thing is there are unconfirmed reports of thousands of civilians still in that area. Any assault on that would inevitably highlight lots of civilian casualties. Whilst that hasn't been an issue for Russia up to now, given that the world's media is focused on this, I suspect it wouldn't be helpful to his war aims. There is a risk, of course, by moving his troops away, is that you make the remaining Russian troops static. You therefore provide some initiative potentially to the Ukrainians. But for me, crucially, whilst there is Ukrainian resistance there, it'll continue to be a thorn in the side of Russia. And of course, Putin can't claim victory until he's finished that threat off. I think it's also a sign of Putin's frustration with the tenacity and the bravery of the Ukrainian forces in there. Having been cut off for so long, no food, no water, no ammunition, he fully expected surrender or die. There would have only been one option. And yet they've chosen to fight on. And I think that's the really good example of the military ethos of those fighters, that they are service before self, that they are prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good. And what is the greater good here? Let's be clear. For every minute they have been tying up Russian forces, it's a minute when those forces can't move away. It's another minute where those forces, Russian forces, can't get involved and start targeting their brothers up to the north. And I think this is a really amazing example of bravery, tenacity, and ultimately sacrifice.
Yeah, just one of so many. In terms of this decision by President Putin about what happens at the steelworks, how does this affect the overall campaign that they're mounting in the east of the country?
Well, I think it's exposed, if we didn't know before, that clearly the Donbass region is the priority for Putin. He's throwing all his resources at it. We've had the mayor of Kharkiv reporting that there's been shelling going on up to the north there just very recently. I think most Western analysts thought Putin would take another week or two to recover his forces that were moored up in Kiev and get them actually all refreshed and resupplied, ready for this new fight. Unfortunately, every day that goes by provides the Ukrainians another day to recover, get more aid into the country. So it's always going to be a compromise. I think most Western analysts believe that Russia has gone quite early on this offensive and also spread itself out over a 300-mile front line, which carries a lot of risk. If it works and they make a decisive breakthrough, that will be interesting for the outcome. But if it doesn't work, Russia could get yet another mauling. I think what most analysts agree, though, is whatever happens, we're facing a brutal battle ahead in the days and weeks ahead.